Hey everyone, welcome to Two Car Pros. My name is Ryan, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to change the engine oil and filter for a 2022 Audi A3. This is a super simple service. Let's jump into it. So what we're going to do first is remove our engine cover. You just pull it straight up. It's kind of made of this neoprene material, like a yoga mat. You just pull it straight up and out. And that exposes our oil filter, which I'm going to change first. So now that the engine's been off for a little while, I'm going to take some towels and I'm just going to store them kind of around where the housing of the oil filter meets the top of the engine. And I'm doing that just to catch any kind of dribbles I might miss. It shouldn't be too bad because the engine's been off for a while. The oil's drained out of the housing, but you know what? I'd rather be safe than sorry. Then I'm going to take a 32mm socket linked down below in the description and put it on this big bolt head here, and then just turn the filter housing like this. You might even be able to just grab it with your hands because it wasn't on super tight. Once you break the seal, you'll kind of hear it go, and that's the oil draining, the rest of the oil draining out of the filter housing back down into the pan, which is what you want so it doesn't make a big mess. And then we can just take it up and out just like that and take it over to our workbench. So here's our oil filter we pulled off of our car. We can go ahead and remove the filter element. I do recommend wearing gloves because oil contains all kinds of things you really don't want on your skin. And we can remove the filter element and set it aside. And then we can remove this O-ring. It's a little tough to see because it's a black O-ring on a black housing, but just grab it. You can probably use your fingernails and just kind of pry that off. Take the old O-ring and put that aside so you don't mix it up. And here's our new filter made by Mon. This is the Audi OEM actually. This is what you want to be looking for. There's the part number and the link is down below in the description for your convenience. And you can see that the filter elements are exactly the same and it comes with the same O-ring. So I said separate them so you don't mix them up. So the next thing we're going to do is grab our new O-ring and put it into that groove just there. And it's pretty flexible, so it's not too bad. Just don't snap it, obviously. I'm going to put that in its housing, or its little home, I guess. And then we're going to take a little bit of fresh oil on the end of our fingertip, and then I'm just going to apply it to that O-ring all the way around so it's nice and sauced up and lubricated. Never put an O-ring on dry. And then we take the filter. It doesn't matter which side goes in. I'm just going to put the text in like this because that's the way I found it. I don't think it matters. And then it's going to kind of go like this and then just push it until you hear that nice sound. And it's ready to go back in the car. The next thing I'm going to do, some people kind of think it's a little unnecessary, is I'm going to grab some cleaning agent. I like this carburetor spray, and just spray it down in there. And I'm going to clean where that O-ring is going to sit so it has its best chance of sealing so we don't get a leak. You don't need to clean all the way down in the housing or anything. I just want to clean that mating surface, and that looks really, really nice. And then we're going to take our new filter and our housing, making sure that O-ring is nice and lubricated, and we're just going to start the threads. We'll get our towel out of there so we don't get any threads of the towel caught in the threads of the filter housing. We'll just start that on. Make sure it's not cross-threaded like this one is perfect, and it is being nice and brought down. Until it stops just like that, and as it says right on the cap, 25 Newton meters plus 5 Newton meters. Alternatively, if you didn't have a torque wrench, this is how I would do it. Just get a ratchet and then just about that tight. Well, you know, between wrist and one arm tight. It doesn't need to be super tight. As long as this doesn't leak, then it's correct. So for the technically correct crowd out there, I'm gonna grab my torque wrench, roll it up to 25 Newton meters rather. There we go. And then set it down to 5 Newton meters and give it a 5 additional. There we go, all done. It's really not that tight. Just, you know, one arm, basically one arm tight, and you snug it down and you're good to go. So now what we can do is remove the undervalance piece here, and it kind of held with a bunch of different fasteners. And I'm gonna start with the big ones here. They're T45s. And then I take a 25mm socket and remove these plastic, I guess they're bolts? One on each side, yeah. Now this rear bit should kind of flop down a little bit. There we go. So underneath here on this valance piece, there's like a dozen fasteners of T25 Torxes that we just need to remove. It's gonna take me a while. And then as you're on the last fastener, brace the valance piece with the other hand. And then what we're going to do is go straight back with it. It has these little tangs that are kind of in your way, so you kind of need to like pry those like that and like that. Now we have access to the bottom side of our engine. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my T45 Torx again. This is our oil pan drain bolt. I have done some eye protection as well. It's probably a good idea. And typically you just need to break it loose, and then we can go the rest of the way. There we go. And just let it all drain out. So what I'm going to do next, once it's slowed to either a trickle or it's slowed all the way down to nothing, just grab some carburetor spray. And I'm just going to clean that mating surface really well. It's okay if there's a little bit of oil still coming out. It's not that big of a deal. You're not going to get every single drop out of the engine. And then we're going to grab our drain plug. I've already cleaned it and put a new gasket on there. Actually, it's technically a washer, but I call it a gasket because it has that nice little rubber insert. I really like using these. Link down below in the description. And then I'm just going to bring that down to touch using the socket we used earlier so it stops leaking all over me. Wipe that away so we don't get any false dribbles. The torque specification for that is 22 foot-pounds, but one arm tight is sufficient if you don't have a torque wrench. There we go. And then back topside, go ahead and remove your oil cap and place a funnel. And then the oil we'll be using today is this Valvoline 0W20 full synthetic, and you need 6 quarts. So just put 6 in. With our 6 quart in, we can go ahead and remove our funnel and replace our oil cap. Perfect. The next thing I'm going to do is start the vehicle, let it run for about 45 seconds or so, check for leaks, making sure it's not leaking out of the bottom of the filter housing right here, and where the drain plug is, and I'm going to let that run for about 45 seconds and then turn the engine back off. So it's been about a minute. I'll go ahead and look at the filter housing, making sure that's bone dry, and it is. It looks very nice. Look underneath the vehicle to make sure it's not just dripping oil over the dang place. And we can check our oil level just to double check and make sure that the engine is happy with where we put its oil. So we can go ahead and grab our dipstick. Give it a nice wipe off. There we go. Now, the oil is going to be a little difficult to just see because it's so new and thin. Let's check it out. See if we can see something. Oh yeah, we're perfect. So I know it's a little tricky to see on camera. Maybe I should take my word for it. But right there is where the oil level is. So 6 quarts is right on the money. And then we can put our engine cover back on. Basically, you are going to put these holes right here. There's 4 of them all over. Onto these bulbs, I guess you'd call them. On these here, they correspond with that. You can also just line it up with the oil fill cap. Just make sure it's lined up nice and good. There we go. That looks awesome. And then we're going to take our underbalance piece, making sure nothing is leaking. Everything's perfect. And then we just slot that back into its home, how we found it. Like that. And then put this up and line up the big Torxes. Just snug on those. I don't really have a torque spec for you. And these big plastic bolts, just finger tight on these is fine. They're not like they're not like a real bolt, so you'll break them. Gonna be wrist tight with a socket like this. Should be fine. Well, we can replace these little bolts that kind of hold this on. There's not really a torque spec for them. I'm just using the kind of the clutch chuck on my electric screwdriver here. Wrist tight is what I'd call it. And there you go. So now let's reset the oil life. With the key fob in the car and your foot off of the brake, push that. Then we're going to come to the infotainment screen, go to vehicle, and hit service intervals. And then we're just going to reset that. Gosh, because we just changed the oil. And it says next oil change in 10,000 miles. I recommend 8, but you do you. So that's how to change your engine oil for a 2022 Audi A3. This is really, really easy and something you could totally do at home in your garage. Just make sure you dispose your oil correctly. You can take that to pretty much any auto parts store and they should dispose of it for you for free. The other thing I want to go over is how much money you're saving. I think the oil and filter ended up being something like $60, right around that neighborhood, maybe a little bit more, maybe like $70. But I happen to know, well, the last time this car was taken to the dealer, because I found a receipt inside, just for an oil change and an air filter change was over $500, it's almost $600. It was like $564. $564. You are saving $500 doing this service yourself, and it is totally worth it. And you make sure the job is done correctly. Thank you so very much for watching. If you found this video helpful or interesting at all, please consider giving a like or even subscribing. It really helps my channel out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.